Hey everybody, I'm Jerry Katz and you're listening to CKDU 88.1 FM in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, where we got plenty of snow. And right now in the studio it is just little old me and CKDU, and you're listening to Non-Duality Network Talk Radio. But we're going to be joined soon by a guest who's on the phone in Washington, D.C., of all places. And that, of course, is Cheryl Abram. Cheryl Abram is a mom. She has 4 children, and she's an excellent writer. Cheryl is very quickly making a name for herself in the so-called non-duality community, whatever that is. I think we'll have to ask her and find out about that. Let's get Cheryl on the phone. Let's get Cheryl on the line. See what we can do. Hey, Cheryl, are you there?
Hi, Jerry. I'm here.
We're speaking to Cheryl Abram. How's things in D.C.? We have a snowstorm here.
Yeah, we got a little bit this morning, but it's not that bad. It's just a little dusting on the ground. So it's cold though, but not. The skies are beautiful blue. No more snow here.
Well, that's nice. That's nice. So what is the non-duality community then? Because when we first met, we met recently, really. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we talked about was what makes up the so-called non-duality community. Mm-hmm. And are you getting a better sense of what that is? Or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned in a lot of my posts, I was unfamiliar with the term non-duality up until maybe 2 years ago or something like that. And when I first got into it, it was difficult to understand, basically, and I didn't want to understand it. I wanted to go back to what I did know because I just could not get with the program, All the stuff you guys are talking about was just too weird for me, and
really?
Didn't align at all with any of the stuff that I'd been taught. So, as I got, but I couldn't stay away.
Couldn't stay. It was weird, but you couldn't stay away.
I could. There was something that was being said that drew me. So, as I got further into it, and it started making sense. It just started making sense to me. Yeah. And I was able to see, because I think what I've discovered is that having a discussion about non-duality or talking about those sorts of things is the same thing as me talking to my girlfriend about what we're going to do for vacation next year, like where are we going to go. Both those conversations are simply pointing us to a present reality. I'm just as likely to realize that reality when talking about vacations as I am about talking about non-duality.
Mm. So what's the commonality? What's common about those two experiences that makes them open a doorway to an understanding of non-duality?
Yeah, I think it's just realizing what's literally right in front of my face.
Mm. So are you saying that what's in front of your face doesn't matter, whether it's a book on non-duality, like one of Rupert Spira's books, or a book on a book from the travel agency, showing different vacation spots?
Yeah, because I think it doesn't have anything to do with the books that we're reading. Like when I was on your radio show before, I was reading my emails on my computer when I had that experience. So there was nothing that I did to cause anything.
That's interesting because, we should do a couple of things. And one of them is, one of the topics I wanted to talk about is from Galen Sharp's book on non-volitional living.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just said something about, in regards to that. I don't know if you can repeat what you just said or not, but in any case, you said it. So,
mm-hmm.
And then the other thing is non-duality itself, because we do have listeners who may question what even that is, and
mm-hmm.
we know literally the term means non-separation. Some people like to say, well, yeah, oneness, interconnectedness. But would you have anything to say about calling non-duality interconnectedness, oneness, or perhaps not separation? Do you have a definition that falls into there somewhere?
Yeah, I don't think I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I do.
How do you look at non-duality then, if we're trying to give a description? Or I guess the beauty of it is that you don't.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be able to put it. You don't have to have words for it.
Right. I mean, the thing that I find fascinating now is that, and I think this is reflected in my blog post too, is that, I mean, it's literally everywhere. I mean, I can take any incident, and like I have a story in there about my kids playing with their Legos, and I can just see, it's just so clear in everything now that all there is this here, And one of the exercises that I would do is I would ask myself, with any thought that came up or anything I was looking at, I would ask myself, does that change the present? Is whatever is happening right now, is it changing the present?
Mm-hmm.
And I got in the habit of asking that question. And even if it seemed like, because like if I would have immediate problems, something was going on, I don't know, I was having, a falling out with one of my cousins or something, we're arguing about something. The question would not be, what can I do to make this better, or how can I, solve this particular problem of our argument. The question would be, does this change the present? And someone a couple of days ago posted something on Facebook with pictures of the Holocaust and, all the atrocities there with there were bodies all over stacked on one another, and it was a very sad scene. But the question again was, does that change the present? Because I had to get in touch with what the real problem was, which is believing that I'm separate from everything. And once I was able to see, no, I'm not, I'm not, and once you see that, everything else takes care of itself.
That's a beautiful inquiry. Does this change the present?
Yeah.
What does that bring up then for you?
Well,
how does that I'm sorry to interrupt, but how does that inquiry play out then? If you can put it into words, the playing out of that inquiry for you.
When I ask that question, like if I ask that question right now, the answer is always no. It's always no.
What does that imply?
That the present doesn't change, that my goal, the goal that I used to have to try to change things, is a futile goal. It'll never happen. It'll never change the present, ever. And realizing that, slowly realizing that, just takes all the gas out of the, the effort. I mean, so why even, why do it? Why keep pursuing that goal to separate myself when it's clearly not working? It's clearly not changing anything, clearly. So stuff's it's just able to happen, with no goal. A goal apparently is not needed. in order for whatever is happening to happen.
And what you say beautifully matches up with a reading I wanted to do today from Galen Sharp's book, What Am I? Mm-hmm. It's about volition. It's basically, you're basically saying what I wanted to say. So let me just read this. He talks about a secret. Galen Sharp talks about a secret, and you just revealed it, really. And he says, this is the first part. I'll just read it. He says, every time we attempt to exercise our volition to control the needs, behavior, and weaknesses we dislike in ourselves, the mind supposes that a me is willing it and doing it. Mm-hmm. And the moment this me is considered, all the needs and desires associated with it are awakened and energized.
Right.
Is that, does that extend or add to what you were saying?
No, certainly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. And then I'm going to...
That's what makes this so real. You know, so immediately real. You know, because in one of my posts, I forget what it was, but I also talked about how, you know, people feel like they have real problems out there. Like stuff that, I mean, they just don't have time to go into all this and, you know, think about the universe and whatever. But the fact is that this is the only thing that is real. You know, the smoke screen of problems out there that we keep running behind trying to solve. That's the unreal stuff. That's not going to do anything. It's here. It's this that is real that's going to take care of all that other stuff. You know.
He says, Galen Sharp says, he says, any attempt at willpower will, at the same time, activate the very behavior you are trying to stop. Mm-hmm. He calls it the great joke.
Yeah.
He says, stop here and think about this for a minute. Anything?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the great joke. I also want to stop. We have a couple of guests that stopped in the studio just off the street.
Yeah.
I have no idea who these people are. No, these are two scheduled guests that we have today. I just want to introduce Scott and Kim.
Okay.
Scott MacInnis and his wife Kim MacInnis.
Hello.
Are here. Hi. Wait, let me get your microphones on. Hello.
Hello.
So you've been listening to Cheryl for a couple of minutes.
I have.
Yeah, and what do you guys have to say? Scott?
We're just a little frazzled. The weather's been quite bad, so we just managed to slide our way
I
in
know.
here.
Yeah, the weather's really bad. All right, you can listen a little more and then jump
I'd like
in. And jump in at some time. Did you want to continue from some point, Cheryl?
Yes. I'm sorry. You want me to say more?
Is there anything else you wanted to say, or what I can do is I said that Galen Sharp talked about these two secrets. So one secret was that any attempt at willpower will activate the behavior you're trying to stop. Mm-hmm. And then the second part of the secret is that volition is an illusion.
Right.
It's completely imaginary. Mm-hmm. He says true volition has never actually happened. It's never actually happened.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's the kind of... So you're finding this inquiry right now brings you to a place where that becomes obvious. Does this change the present? An inquiry related to anything happening in the moment.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. When I was on my way to work this morning, I ride the bus from Northern Virginia to D.C., and I was just thinking that, like, the body seems to actually be just everything. Like the universe, the cosmos is our body, right? If we can think of it like that. And if you think of your the body that's sitting in the chair, and all the goings on the inside that we are clearly not controlling. All the stuff that happens in cells and the bloodstream, and the synapses in the brain and all that. It's like that kind of. That stuff just happens. It just goes on,
Mm-hmm.
and which is just it's like a microcosm of what's really going on in the universe.
Yeah, it just seems like a great intelligence playing out.
Yeah, just happening. Whatever it is, it's just happening.
But it's not easy to understand. Not easy to understand. People really have a hard time giving up the idea or the concept that they have no volition.
Right.
Because then the response is, well, what do I do? I don't have to do it. I have no responsibility. There's nothing to do.
Even understanding isn't necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's still, what it is. It's like consciousness being aware that it's conscious. I mean, that doesn't happen. It's just consciousness, that's all.
Mm-hmm. Well, a child would know that. A child who's living freely and who's aware that their experience is not any different than their awareness. First of all, they're not stopping and saying, this experience is awareness, and they're not thinking that they have understanding.
Right.
And they're not being hired to speak because they do have understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So to live freely, there's no need to know any of that.
Right. Exactly.
But it comes up in relationship, with people. It seems.
Yeah, it seems so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's your writing coming? You got blog posts coming out pretty often.
Yeah, it's coming along. I mean, it's coming along. I get many ideas from people who contact me, like folks who are emailing me.
Yeah.
And, they ask a certain question or, just give a certain comment. Something may come to me. Because at least what worked for me was just looking at this thing from different angles. Like some stuff that Muji, for instance, would say, I just wouldn't get it. But if I heard it a certain way from Paul Hederman, for example, then I'd get it just like that, just because of the way he presented that same information,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I try to come at it at the different angles,
Scott, you and Kim, our last. I want to tell you about our last non-duality satsang meeting. We had a meeting on Sunday night, and we talked about this volition and not volition. And Heather read a passage. I'll just read a part of it. Again, it's from Galen Sharp's book, What Am I? And just one passage that everyone asked about and talked about. And Galen writes, "See that we are simply and only the awareness of the mind while it goes its own way. Every sensation and feeling it has belongs to the mind, to manifestation, not to ourself. With everything that appears in any way, we can say, not me, not me." And that brought up a lot of discussion.
Did it? Yeah.
At our meeting. And not everyone not everyone's okay with that. Not everyone sits easily with that there's no me, that there's no volition.
No, I mean, everything they've ever been taught is contrary to that understanding. I mean, that does seem to be the reality. And even to say not me, in a way, there's the supposition that there's a separate me who can say that. I mean, essentially everything just is, regardless of whether it belongs to anyone at all.
It really makes it clear that there's people, I mean, we're out in public and we're talking about this stuff and writing and everything, but it makes it clear that there, without question, are people who, with the same, I'll use the word understanding, but who may not even look at it as understanding. They're just living their lives.
Yeah.
And you may stumble into those people, and you may not.
Yeah, I think anytime you see a really deep contentment in someone, often that's what's going on.
Yeah.
There's just not really any conflict between any idea of themselves and what their experience is.
Yeah, and you're one of the very few people in the non-duality world who does not have a website. You do not have a book. You are not on Facebook, and you are not in the studio. That's how remote you are. You're not even here.
Yeah. Well, I'm a very private person, I think. That's why. That's why we're on the radio.
That's how.
Yeah.
That's how non-dual you are.
Yeah. No, I think that there's just a contentment in living that understanding. You know, there's not a real drive to say anything or do anything about it. Just a contentment in living in that peaceful way.
Are you, Cheryl, as you write and publish and get better known, what do you think? What do you think of all that? I mean, is there any mixed feelings around it, or what? Around, well, you're getting better known through your writings and your presence in the world of non-dual spirituality.
Yeah, well, to tell you the truth, I'm excited about it and that's just because I feel like it's good news, and I want to tell people the good news.
Let's introduce.
I don't want to. I'm not Jesus or anything like that, but I feel. But there's just a feeling that, man, why wouldn't someone want to know this? That there's nothing you have to do. That it's already done.
Yeah, your writing really beautifully states that and demonstrates it in a way that I think is really unique in the whole field. Are you familiar with Cheryl's?
No, I'm afraid I'm not.
Well, you're about to be treated to some Cheryl Abram.
Oh, wonderful.
Are you ready to read something?
Sure.
I mentioned to you earlier, we're going to accompany you with some music, because there's a musical kind of a little backstory, or at least background to it, right? Are you ready?
Yes.
I'm going to get that on the air. Just a second. Get your papers ready. Take notes. There'll be a test afterward. You guys like Michael Jackson?
Yeah.
Yeah, who doesn't like Michael Jackson? That was Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Did you pick all that up, Cheryl?
Yes. Michael Jackson, MJ, the king of pop.
We were all like dancing here. You can't.
Yeah.
You can't not dance to that.
Yeah.
To that music.
Uh-huh.
Was Michael Jackson an important part of your life?
Oh my goodness, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Him, because him and Prince, like around that same time, they were both, coming up there, and yeah, Michael Jackson was, huge influence.
I guess I grew up a little bit later, and I want to ask what was so great about him. I know he was great. I don't want to ask, was he great? But for you, what made his greatness? What struck you as his greatness?
Well, first of all, my older sisters and brother loved him. Yeah. So because they watched him all the time, I watched him all the time too. In the house, and his music was just wonderful. I mean, I barely understood a lot of what he was saying, but you can dance to it.
You can't not dance to it.
Yeah. I mean, and the way he danced, his moves, and the stuff he wore at that time was just so cool. And I don't know, he was a star. He was a star. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into an artist that moves us that deeply. First of all, it helps if we're young, because when you're young, you absorb it. Mm-hmm. And you're impacted by it. Mm-hmm. You're not jaded or anything.
Yeah. No.
For me, it was Elvis, but Michael Jackson, same thing, and somehow his energy, or something about the people like him or Elvis, it kind of gets in your cells, in your blood, somehow. I don't know. Did you find that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, that was, consciousness did a job on him, As Michael Jackson, consciousness really
did a job on us.
Yes.
Did you? I'm going to have you read the piece related to that in a second. Did you guys, Kim or Scott, did you have any musical people that did that to you, or artists of any sort? Or
no, a lot of times for me, I was more interested in something like solo piano. I always found that was really good for just stilling you and whatnot.
And you played the piano, of course.
I did, yeah, for a while. I haven't in some time, but yeah, definitely. But,
were you, Kim? Were you like a Michael Jackson fan, a Michael Bolton fan, a Michael? I don't know.
I listened to Michael Jackson. I liked Janet Jackson. I was a Prince fan as well. I listened to a variety of music. I liked a lot of girl music, so.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Like Spice Girls, or?
I wasn't a Spice Girl fan. I don't know. Can't really think of anything right now. But
the Girls, was there a group ever called the Girls? There should have been.
I don't know.
Probably a bunch of guys. Who knows? Can you go ahead and read the piece that you wrote very recently, I think just yesterday or so, and
that was a couple days ago, yeah.
And I guess maybe you want to recite some of those lyrics from Michael Jackson's song, if that's part of it.
Yeah, I'll just do like the very end.
Okay, so here's Cheryl Abram.
So the title of the post is "Don't Stop Till You Get Enough." Okay, so some of his lyrics are: keep on with the force, don't stop till you get enough. Keep on with the force, don't stop till you get enough.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Michael Jackson, the king of pop. He was amazing, wasn't he? He brought us the Moonwalk, Thriller, Billie Jean, the One Glove thing. And he was just totally awesome. He was super talented in every way. I, like thousands of other people, grew up listening to Michael Jackson's music. In fact, right now, I have at least 5 of his songs downloaded onto my Android. My 18-year-old son and my 14-year-old daughter listen to and love his music as well. In addition, many contemporary artists have adopted his style of dance and other mannerisms. Even after his death, he clearly lives on. Along with Prince, the Beatles, Mick Jagger, Marvin Gaye, and many, many other performers, living and dead, Michael Jackson is timeless. He has left his legacy. He may be gone physically, but he will never leave our hearts and minds. Isn't that exhausting, though? I mean, aren't you just a little tired? Aren't you weary of leaving your legacy? Haven't you had enough? Granted, it is exciting and fun and stimulating and interesting and surprising, etc., etc. And as I've mentioned before, there's nothing wrong, wicked, or sinful about your legacy, your memory, your mental construct of yourself, your atom. But home is calling you. It's an invitation, not a command. There's another memory here, a present memory, that's gently reminding you that you are not that. You are not the mental construct of person, world, universe, consciousness. You are not your legacy. You simply are. Don't land anywhere. Don't attach to anything. Don't understand. Don't believe. No legacy, construct, or concept needs to be held onto or believed in or defined or understood or dismembered, then remembered, or lived, then relived in order for you to be. Nothing happened. There are no questions. There are no answers. There is no story. So go ahead and dance to the music. Play in the rain. Admire the flowers. Learn new things. Drink your coffee and talk to your neighbor. Go ahead and see, taste, hear, smell, think, and feel. But as those things happen, simply rest. And that's the post.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I mean, you were going somewhere with that. And then you pulled the rug out from everybody. And but you didn't really let anyone fall flat on their bottom, too, you know?
Yeah.
No one got hurt in that flipping of the switch, the pulling of the rug.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was artful in that way.
Yeah. I think this post is, this post pretty much talks about where I was when I was on my bed that day. And I said, I'm just done. I'm finished. I'm exhausted.
Was that when you told God to F off?
Yeah, that's that was that day.
She told God to F off.
I was finished. I mean, I couldn't go another second. I just couldn't.
All right.
You know.
Well, I had to go in there and tell God that it's not that bad. She's just
yeah.
Have a coffee. Anyway, yeah, well, people have these experiences, but I don't know if everyone knows how to process it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or to ask that question does this change the present?
Yeah, does it change the present? Yeah.
But your writings definitely are very nice guides for whenever that experience happens to someone.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of giving up experience.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said if anyone who has that kind of experience of that giving up, that kind of spontaneous let go, it can be difficult to process it.
Mm-hmm.
But your writing does provide support for that.
Yeah.
For all kinds of people. For anyone, really.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's unique about your writing.
Yeah.
Really
well, I've gotten a lot of feedback from folks, so I'm just glad that it's resonating with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do your kids think of your writing career? Your older kids?
Nothing much. I mean, they don't really read my blog or anything. They're not interested in it.
Do you guys want to compare it? Because Scott and Kim have 2 kids. You've got 4.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Should any notes be compared here?
How old are your kids?
My kids are 18, 14,
Wow.
4, and 3.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a big difference.
Big difference, yeah.
And your kids are
9 and 11.
9 and 11. So when they're like 18 and 14, then you can start over again.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the reason you, Cheryl, started a family, you told me why.
Yeah.
You want to say what that was?
Yeah, it was because, I would go out and everyone would mistake me for their sister.
Yeah.
So I'm like, man, when am I going to be able to be a mom? So I was like, let me just, And now it's still, no, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you got to have more? Is it still happening?
I'm sorry, Jerry. What did you say?
I said it's never ending.
Yeah, it's never ending. Right. I'm forever young, apparently.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I saw you. We Skyped. We did a video Skype.
Yeah.
And are your older kids interested in this understanding at all, or?
Oh no, not at all. Not at all. They're only interested when they see that mom doesn't fly off the handle like she used to.
Yeah, it's no fun.
They definitely see the fruits of the tree,
yeah.
but they don't care why.
Yeah.
What about your kids, Scott and Kim? Because I know you talk to them at opportune times in ways that really at opportune times in ways that really, I know they come from kind of an open mind or open non-dual consciousness, really, if you want to use that term.
Yeah, there's kind of a difficult line to walk between just having them be kids out there playing in the world and going down a path of not necessarily understanding what it is that they're doing. So in a way, I kind of like to leave little truths or have the discussion with them about what it is they're doing, whether or not it's lusting after something or looking for happiness in things. We'll have that discussion and talk about where true happiness is, and but then after that they can go ahead and do what it is that they were going to do anyway, and then we can talk about it after. So it's fine. I know they have to do that and they have to learn that themselves, but at least if we're pointing them in that direction, I think that'll be beneficial to them in the long run.
Yeah. Do you have that kind of thing going on there, Cheryl?
No, I don't. But what is interesting is that some of the things that, like one thing my daughter said a couple months ago, we were driving somewhere. Now, and I don't really talk to her about this stuff, because like I said, she's not interested. She's on her iPod or whatever all the time. But she said to me when we were driving one day, she said, "Mom, isn't it creepy that we never see ourselves? We only ever see reflections of ourselves." And I was like, man, that is creepy. But and they will say, and my son, when I was taking him to the airport to go to his father's house, and he said, we were talking about school, and him deciding on whether to go to the military or to go to school. And he said, I don't think that it's possible to learn anything new. He said, I think geniuses are just people who remember more. There's nothing new here. They have a better memory than everybody else. And I was like, wow, that's that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So they're they're just saying stuff, out of the, and my brother's the same way. I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and he worked for a church in North Carolina, and he's always been, kind of poo-poo about this, religion stuff. But so I asked him, I said, well, his name is Gary. I said, Gary, if people don't hold on to religion, I said, what do they have to hold on to? And he said, reality. Look at what's in front of you, And I really don't talk to a lot of my family about this because, like I said in my first interview, my family is very religious, and I don't want them to feel like I'm trying to, change their minds about whatever, or anything like that. So I only speak to those people who, come to me or want to hear about it, ask me questions or something, But what I'm noticing is that in my family, they're just saying stuff, that's interesting to me. And I don't know why that is, or, I'm sure it doesn't mean anything, but it's just very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And, but you're definitely saying, I guess, the breadth and depth of those statements. They're interesting statements.
Yeah.
Grab onto reality, or we only see our reflections.
Yeah.
That a statement like that can go pretty far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys have anything on that?
No, not too much. I mean, I guess the challenge a lot of times is to really hear something like that and then to live it.
To hear it, and the person who's saying it then to feel that it's important enough to wonder about it.
Yeah.
I was interviewed Galen Sharp yesterday. We were talking about UFOs. I'm not going to get into there. Don't worry. We're not going to become a UFO show. But we did. And I said, how did you get into UFOs? He says, well, I just follow my sense of wonder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, if someone comes up with a statement like, we never see our reflection, if that inspires a great wonder, then you've inspired a great journey, which could go as far as any journey will take you. So something like that could be a great statement, or it can just be a curiosity that passes and is forgotten.
Yeah.
Unless someone else picks up on it and runs with it.
Yeah, and you can also remind them of that when you see a certain fruitless action that they're doing and saying, it's interesting, it reminds me of what you said about,
Right, yeah.
That's certainly something anyone can do, is go back to times, whether it's a week ago, a year, literally 50 years ago when you were a child, and then just remember something. Remember it again. And it's really never too late to let your sense of wonder take you there and to consider it, think about it, contemplate it, go deeply into it. It's a door that's always been there. I think people do that when they're on spiritual journeys. They'll remember something from years earlier, a book they read, something they thought of, and they'll revisit it. And in that revisiting can be quite fruitful for their understanding. It's like picking up a book off your shelf that you've had for 20 years, and you just, for whatever reason, pick it up again, and then you see it in a new way.
Yeah, I've done that several times with The Hobbit. I swear to God, I've read that book like 4 times.
The Hobbit?
Yes.
Have you Scott and Kim, ever read The Hobbit?
No.
Well, you have 5 minutes to read it. We can have a conversation here. It's only about 1,000 pages. I don't know. I've never read it either. I'm just hoping.
Oh my God,
they did.
Terry, come on now.
But I don't know. I'm, was it a good book? I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So The Hobbit.
Amazing. It's so good. So good.
isn't it kind of, well, just, I don't, tell me what strikes you about it?
Well, I love the fantasy. Like, I love Tolkien. The Lord of the Rings, that's like the most amazing ever. So, the movies and all that stuff. I like that. But it's just, I don't know. I love there's the dragons and the goblins and the hobbits,
okay.
and it's just all so fun and magical and just, out there.
Are you a Harry Potter girl, or did you miss that generation?
You know what? I did not read the Harry Potter books, which is kind of strange, given that I like Tolkien so much. But no, I wasn't into Harry Potter as much.
Or are your kids, your older kids?
Yes. My daughter definitely liked it. Yeah, she liked Harry Potter.
Harry Potter is big. Is your family, Scott, and came into Harry Potter? Are your kids?
They watched the movies, but they never got into the books. I think they were a little too young. I think the books were
probably too young.
A little
9, and so
yeah. But no, they don't tend to get into that too much.
Yeah.
They kind of.
Well, you live in nature a lot, so are your kids involved in nature then? I mean, do they like doing stuff like that, or?
Yeah, they definitely do. Our youngest is really avidly a little bit of a nature freak, and so he's always outside and feeding birds and having little explorations. He's got quite an imagination.
Yeah, good.
And we try to encourage them to play outside as much as we can.
Yeah.
Just getting harder and harder these days, where all of their friends are more engaged electronically than in any other way.
And you're a carpenter, so you're outside.
Yeah, no, we're definitely outside a lot, and we live near the water, so
yeah,
we very much miss it if we're away from it for any length of time.
Yeah, I know, it's beautiful where you are. Do your kids get much nature out there and where you are, Cheryl?
Do they get into much?
Do they have access to much nature? Get into, nature. Do you know what nature is?
Oh, nature, that thing. Well, right? I think there's like 2 trees outside my window.
When you live in the city, you don't, nature, what's that?
Yeah, well, we have what is it, a state park, I guess it's called Forest Park here in Northern Virginia.
Okay.
So that's where we go for nature. And it's beautiful.
Nice.
I mean, there's lots of trees and stuff. I drag my daughter out there sometimes when it's warm, but,
Yeah. Do they prefer the city life?
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what they know.
Yeah.
How they've grown up. I'm the one who's from,
That's right.
From Louisiana, the bayous and plantations and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
you did. Yeah. In our interview, you told of a great idyllic childhood that you had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although we did just go to, my sister lives in 29 Palms, California.
Yeah.
Her husband's in the Marines, and, I don't know if you've ever been there, but that's where the Joshua trees and, all the hills and pretty desert. I think it's part of the Mojave Desert, I believe. But, oh my God, my daughter loved it out there, and I was very surprised, because there's nothing there.
Well,
she loved it. She really did. I love it too, but, she really liked it.
What does she like about it? Maybe the space or the air?
Well, we would go, the space, and we would go, to the national park and climb on the rocks, and I don't know, it's just so spacious. There's space everywhere.
I think the desert is conducive to a non-dual consciousness because of the space and the quiet and kind of a mysterious feel about the Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of mystical.
Yeah.
We need someone to do some reading, and did you bring anything, Scott, to read? Scott, you're a good writer.
Yeah, I don't have anything this time, unfortunately, but
yeah. And Cheryl, would you like to read something? I don't know if I have any music to back you up, though. You might be able to sing something. Did you write any articles based on Sinatra? Because I could do a little Sinatra. Over here.
No,
nothing.
I can think about that. Yeah.
No profound articles based on Frank, huh?
No. No, none based on Frank.
All right. Okay. Well, you want to read another something else? All your articles are good.
Yeah. Do you have a preference? I don't know if you read.
I don't know, the Lego one maybe, or
the Lego one. Okay, I can do that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me pull it up here.
Cheryl Abram.
Okay.
The Lego one.
Yeah, it's called Lego My Ego. All right. My 3 boys love playing with Legos. For those of you who aren't familiar with Legos, they're colorful, interlocking plastic blocks like those in the picture that I have here on the screen. My oldest son, who's 18 now, no longer asks for Legos for Christmas, but I guarantee if I decided to buy him a 3,000-piece Lego Bionicle set, he'd be overjoyed. Of course, my 3- and 4-year-olds still play with them. It warms my heart when they come to me and show me the things they've made with their blocks. They're so proud of their creations, and I'm proud of them for being so creative. Everything Paul, my 4-year-old, makes is a mega something or other. A mega car, a megatron, a mega man, a mega boat, etc. Daniel, my 3-year-old, isn't as interested in building things as Paul is, but he will make something every now and then. I remember one day I was in the kitchen washing dishes after dinner while Paul and Daniel were in the den building with their Lego blocks. They were playing quite nicely when suddenly I heard a terrible scream. It sounded like one of those ring wraiths from The Lord of the Rings. It was the scream of a soul being violently wrenched from its body as it desperately tried to hold on. It was a scream filled with anguish, hopelessness, and the darkest despair. Daniel had knocked over Paul's Megatron. When I ran into the room, I saw Paul's tear-filled eyes looking at Daniel with a look of complete disbelief and total accusation. "What happened?" I said. "Daniel knocked down my Megatron," Paul yelled. He then walked over to Daniel's blocks and kicked them over. The fight was on. Before I could get to them, Daniel grabbed Paul's leg and was going in for the bite. Paul has been bitten by Daniel before, so all his efforts were on deflecting the incoming assault. "Stop it!" I yelled as I tried to break them apart. Of course, they both calmed down, and I did the mommy thing with timeouts and talks about being respectful of others' creations. One of the many things I noticed in that moment was the differences in reactions. While Paul and Daniel were going for each other's throats, as much as a 3- and 4-year-old can, I was laughing hysterically. I'm laughing now as I'm remembering the incident. The entire situation was so funny to me. The amount of passion and emotion displayed over Lego blocks was hysterical. It was funny because I could see the bigger picture. I knew the Megatron wasn't really a Megatron, whatever that is. It was only a bunch of colorful blocks stacked atop one another. Megatron was an idea that Paul had created in his little mind. I knew it wasn't real. I knew it was just blocks that could be built again, maybe into an even more magnificent Megatron or into something completely different and even more creative. But to Paul, the maker of this awesomeness, it was more than a bunch of colorful blocks. It was his fabulous creation, his unique idea. Your building blocks are awareness. Your Megatron is yourself, your family, your possessions, your status, your intelligence, your ignorance, your enlightenment, your lack of enlightenment, your job, your problems, your successes, your objects. It's all made of awareness. It's all made of you. Keep that in mind when you, in the form of someone else, kicks and destroys an idea of yourself. Widen your perspective. From one Megatron to another, see the bigger picture and smile.
Yeah, that's hugely powerful. And it's a great way to end our show because we have to move on to our next show. Cheryl Abram, thank you very, very much for being on.
You're welcome.
Talk to you again,
Thank you.
Scott MacInnis and Ken MacInnis. Thanks very much.
Thank you
for being here. You'll be here again. You're practically co-hosts. And we'll be back with our next show on CKDU. You're listening to CKDU 88.1 FM in Halifax. I'm Jerry Katz, and thanks for listening.